S.T.A.R. has created the most divine cards. And let's turn it over to S.T.A.R. to lead us in kind of a centering and getting ready for our talk and what we're going to learn today. So over to you, S.T.A.R.
Thank you so much, Diana. It's wonderful to be here with all of you, especially in this February love month. So let's go through a little meditation. So if you want to just close your eyes, if you can, right? If you're driving, don't do that. But we want to find ourselves to be in a centered place. So, close your eyes, if you will. And we're going to just focus in on our heart, right? We want to live from love because love is a powerful, it changes everything for the better. And so let's literally just focus in on our hearts, right? Our beautiful human form that we carry and are able to share our love and our lives with this precious human body. So just take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, imagine your heart lighting up like a light bulb. Imagine your heart feeling calm, soothing. And then let's actually share our love with the world right here, right now, with everyone in our group and maybe beyond, in our towns, in our cities, by imagining this light bulb, this heart center, lighting up like a light bulb. And then this light rays expand into the world. There's so much pain in the world, and we actually can use our energy of our love to help the world heal. Imagine this expansion going to the people that you love, your family, your friends, everyone in this group. And with each ray of light, it heals and centers. And then we expand beyond our towns, our states, our countries, and wrapping the entire world in our energy of the love coming from our heart. And it connects up with all the heart energy from all of us, literally making the world beam with white, radiant light. This imagery is powerful because love does have the power to change everything for the better. So for just a few seconds, immerse yourself, marinate your thoughts in this idea. And then gently waken your eyes, holding that feeling of love and calm at our heart center. If you want to even touch your heart to connect with that love a little more. And then gently bring your attention to the present moment.
Thank you, S.T.A.R. That was beautiful. S.T.A.R, you have created cards that really help us channel our own infinite wisdom and help us understand what our heart needs and give us insights into our mental inboxes and access the intuitive field of knowledge. So perhaps it would be really wonderful to begin with the question of, what was your process and your intention in creating these cards?
That's such a great, it's actually a very long process. For me, the how it started was actually when I was a child. I was in 5th grade, and I think that all of us have traumatic things that happen to us, right? Being human means we're going to suffer in some way, shape, or form, right? So there was a tragedy that hit my family. It actually happened to my sister, and it happened to, and because of that, it changed everything. And I have my sister's permission to share just the generals, but she was abducted at gunpoint and sexually assaulted in junior high. And she's my older sister, and we were very close. And what happened in that process, right? Because we can transform our tragedies, our adversities. And what happened is my sister got angry, and she had all these other things going on. But my mother, with such amazing parenting, and my father, basically said, Star, it doesn't have to do with you. Just love her. Just love her. So she would be acting poorly, and and I would just be like, it doesn't have anything to do with me. I don't need to take this personally. She's suffering. I need to love her. That's my job as a sister, is to love her. And of course, I was in my 40s when I started to look back at my childhood wounds and trying to do the shadow work, if you will. And this started to emerge. It started to emerge. And I started to look back at what was it that I did. My sister is my best friend. We are very close. We live close to each other. We are supporters of one another. And I think beautiful things have happened because I was able to lead with love through the tragedy. And that was the lesson. That was the lesson for me. And I think that's the lesson for all of us as humans, living a spiritual experience on the planet. So that was the beginning. And then it took me 7 years, like practically, and probably 3 years before that with the inklings of it. And things came to me in dreams. So, there's that, right? Like I was first, I had an idea to do a project, and I started writing a book, and then I wrote the book, and the book was a little bit, it was correct, but it was dry. And I'm very playful and I like to have fun. And I'm like, this is boring. I don't even want to edit it. I mean, it's correct. It's what I want to share with the world, which is virtue and love, and how it actually is a technology that helps us transform our daily experience. But, and then, I had a dream that I was going to paint hearts for my birthday. And I love art, and I paint a little here and there, but I'd never done watercolor before. And so I painted 108 hearts. I had this dream. And so for years I did them, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do with them. And then eventually the book that I was writing and they merged, they merged. And then I just followed it one baby step at a time. And here I am, 7-10 years later, with a product that I'm very proud of. And it's been one of the biggest blessings of my life, for sure. So that was the inspiration. It's like leaning into the pain and the transformation at different times in my life when I was really struggling. I mean, I think, who can relate to that? Like, if you can relate to that, please, put something in the chat. Like, I mean,
you to share it with us. I'm holding up your beautiful, here, this is what it looks like, the box, and then the cards are inside, and you can actually put this here and put your card of the day there. There are 64 cards, and basically they are what you call virtues. Can you explain a little bit about how to use the cards, and what are the virtues, and why did you choose that method?
Well, a virtue is what protects our mind and our experience from negativity. So a virtue is essentially comes from love, and love is the greatest of all of those energies. So a virtue is basically a technology that heals us in the moment, right? Like, and a non-virtue, which is the opposite, right? Is void energy, is energy that makes us angry or frustrated or irritated, or any feeling we don't like, right? And if we get granular and specific, we can literally pull a card, it's a virtue, and center our mind around that, like thinking about, what it is to be loving and specific, specifically, right? So it's literally like we live our lives moment by moment by moment. And if we can make more of those moments loving, we're going to have a better experience. We're going to enjoy life. We're going to be happier, right? The results of virtue is that it feels good to be in a virtuous state of mind, which is essentially a positive state of mind, a happy state of mind, a loving state of mind. I mean, you can use the language however you want. It's a feeling you want more of. So that's what virtue is. And we have a lot of feelings we don't want, right? a lot of feelings come up for us that we wish we didn't have, like jealousy or frustration or irritation. I mean, the list goes on. And we have to actually first recognize that we are thinking something we don't want to repeat, and then take the shift and move our mind to a virtue that is around love. And that's it. That's as simple as it is, because we always have outside problems, Diana. Like, but we don't need to compound our problems and have an outside problem, like the tire blows and you're on the side of the road, right? Your car breaks down. That's an outside problem. It becomes a compounded problem when we get irritated and frustrated about it. And now we're so frustrated. Like, we could actually choose to just call AAA and be like, oh, I got a break. I get to call my friend right now while I'm waiting for AAA to come and fix my tire, and not let the inside be like disturbed, right? So there's always this thing going on, the outside world, the inside world. And it's like, how do we want to navigate? Our feelings are true because they're ours, but that means that we have total control and we can own all of our feelings, even the negative ones, and then actually take an action with our body, speech, and our mind to actually move our mind into a more loving state. And then we're going to enjoy ourselves in that moment, because that's all we have is a moment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That is beautiful. And that's really what you mean by creating a mindset and a heart set.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's hard to do, but it's pretty simple. Like, we understand this on a very intellectual level, but where the goodness, the richness comes is when we actually practice it ourselves. No one can do it for us. Even the people that love us in our life, like, they're not responsible for our happiness or our love, our heart set. We are. And when we actually take full ownership of this and start testing it for ourselves, we have so much wisdom, right? I mean, in this room right now, there's so many experiences and wisdom that we all know from our experiences. We can use that to actually gain faith in love, gain faith in how to navigate our relationships. Valentine's Day, I love Valentine's Day, and it's because it's centering love, right? It's centering love, leading from that place first, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like our heart, like, we can do better always. It's a practice that doesn't ever change. And we're human, so we make mistakes, and then but we can use the opponent to heal ourselves, which is any of the 64 cards. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but the best part is when we practice it.
Right. We get better and better as we practice it, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like anything, we have more familiarity with it, right? Like, we have more, when we're more familiar with something, that's like the well-worn grooves in our habits are the things that lead us. But sometimes those well-worn grooves need to be upgraded energetically, right?
Mhm.
And how do we do that? Well, this is one way to do it. There's many ways to do it, but these are all like kind of like, you can do the deck of cards in 30 seconds and that's it. And then carry it with you for the day, right? There's a lot of things pulling at our time, but this
Mhm.
is pays us back tenfold, a hundredfold, a millionfold, because what I talk about in the beginning of the book, and the book is like 320 pages. So it gives you, like, talks about actions that you can take, and you can pick one. There's a lifetime or maybe 10 lifetimes of practice in this little book. And I create what?
It's really dense, this little book. I'm surprised. You wouldn't expect it to have so much in it. It's just beautifully done. And speaking of healing, you said in the book, health is a measure of how well you
Mm.
radiate light through your body, mind, and spirit, then out into the world. I think that's very provocative and interesting. Would you elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh yeah. Well, we're all thinking about health these days, and not just our physical health, but our mental health, right? So here's what I view health to be. Health is literally when it starts with our energy. And if we can generate the loving energy for ourselves and radiate that out, like we did in our meditation early on, it's like stress is the number one killer of all sorts of things, right? It's hard on our physical bodies. Where does stress come from? It comes from our thinking. So if we can actually radiate love within our bodies, you know, by doing this, heart centering exercise we did in the beginning, or many other practices, maybe you have your own practice as well, it pays us back all the time, because if we're navigating life not so stressful, that means that we're going to feel better. We're not going to, our bodies wear out, and they only have so much life, like anything, and we want to be kind to it. So radiating light, like, have you ever done this exercise, Diana, or anyone on the call? Like, I think when I was little, I remember thinking, like, my mother is such a light in the world, and she's had a lot of tragedy in her own childhood growing up. And she was always so happy and loving. My mom's handwriting is actually, each card is her handwriting. So stars, what would love do on the top? That's her handwriting. She's a, lives just a short bit from me. And I think it's like, and she's 82 and strong and doing well. And I think it has a lot to do with our mindset and our heart set, because we can heal our bodies. Our infinite wisdom within our own bodies is very powerful. We heal ourselves. And this is the energy. And this is what I mean by the health card. It's like, people know, like, have you ever met someone where you're just like, well, I think you're like this, Diana, and so Ted too. Like, so, like, energetically, like, you just lean in, you want more of their energy. It becomes the energy, their brightness becomes a currency. I think we know people like this. And I would say that, in my view, they are virtuous, and it's a result of that virtue that makes them that way. Does that make sense?
It does. That's beautiful. You also mentioned the idea of dedicating a card to someone.
Yes.
I didn't quite get that. So how would you do that?
Oh, this is one of the most amazing pieces. So love is something we should do for ourselves, self-love, because when we love ourselves, we're able to give more to others. But one of the highest energetic, like, I would say, blessings or meritorious things we can do is dedicate. So say, for example, we see something beautiful, right? Or we just have a quick meditation and we dedicate it to someone that is in pain, or dedicate it to world peace, or dedicate it, like, I give dedications on each of the cards. And what it happens with is, there is the virtue, but there's the thing that it heals, the antidote, right? So, wholeheartedness is the antidote to, right? Like miserliness or anger, and I'll give, like, a bunch of words. There's obviously much more, but we've all felt things where we weren't wholehearted about, or we were jealous about, or angry about. And part of our healing is wishing others to be free from that suffering too,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
And recognizing when we are feeling this way. And what that does for us is it actually takes us outside of ourselves and is cherishing others. That is a spiritually high vibration thing to do, right? I mean, many modalities talk about this. So if we want to get out of our pain, cherish others.
Mhm.
All of our suffering comes from when we are overindulged with ourselves.
Isn't that true? Oh my gosh. Well,
So
you
that's the dedication piece, right? Like,
yeah,
I do it all the time, and
yeah,
it's such a beautiful practice. Yeah.
yeah, to step out of ourselves and be thinking of other people. You have a method that I think we have a graphic for called the STAR method. Do you want to walk us through
Sure.
that method?
Yeah.
I think Amy has the graphic that she can put up.
I'd love this. This is the method that basically, when I broke it down, and it's just called STARS, right? So the first one is just start where you are. Like, I think we spend a lot of time being hard on ourselves, right? The
Mhm.
language sometimes we use for ourselves is so harsh, and we would never say it to someone else. I invite everyone, and I tell this to myself, like, just start where I am and move towards what I want, right? And not spend the time to, like, I should be here. I need to be better. It's like, just be better. and that means start where we are, accept ourselves where we are. We're all imperfect. We're all having a spiritual experience. So I think that's a nice thing. It's like, it's okay where you are. Like, okay, start there. And that's for the S. And then T is trust your intuition. I think that our intuition is always right. And it's this quiet whispers. And I think as we become older, we realize, gosh, I'm going to listen to that a little closer before it becomes like an avalanche or something crashing down or dramatic. Just, take time to trust our intuition and believe, like, okay, and then look for evidence in the trust of your intuition. And that's how we grow it. And I, always asking. So the A is ask, like, ask what would love do, especially when we are angry, when we're frustrated, when we're feeling tense and tight and anxious, right? Nobody anxious, right? What would love do in this situation? And literally think that, like, for yourself based on your own experiences, because this is how we do better. And the R is for recognize, reduce, or remove. I call it the 3 R's in the book. And it starts with recognition. We can't heal something we don't see, right? So we are afflicted by our anger. And anger is frustration and impatience and all the way up to spite and rage and all the other things and anywhere in between. And none of them are good. So we might have felt angry 100 times today already, mentally, right? So just we need to recognize it and then, pick an action that's going to reduce it. And eventually, with familiarity, it'll be removed. And it might take, decades or whatever, but at least we're moving towards something. And then the last one is just shift it into a habit of love. Like it's pretty easy to do once we see it, but we don't necessarily make it a habit as much. So when we make it a habit, we'll see evidence in our own lives about how it can be better. So that's just the S.T.A.R.S method, and hence why it's stars. What would love do?
Mhm.
And I think, we can practice these things in all sorts of ways. There's a billion ways to practice love.
For sure. And it's just a profoundly transformational question. It really is. I started asking myself that when I wake up in the morning, what would love do today? I had been asking myself, where's the most joy to be found today? But there's something about your question, what would love do, that takes us into the most expanded and present state. If I'm walking along and I'm asking, what would love do? What would love do? I notice that I'm beginning to notice and feel the trees and feel nature and be more connected, and my peripheral vision expands. It's what I call a quintessential question. That when we ask ourselves a question, whatever it is, how can I write this book in 30 days, for instance, um, what happens is very magical. Our inner knowing
Mhm.
comes forth, and it just
Mhm.
kind of shows up. It rolls through. So I'm just applauding you for
Oh,
creating something that is so simple and yet so profound. It really is
oh,
amazing.
thank you so much. My life purpose is to share love in the world, to create community around this project, because love is the absolute panacea for all pain. And I've had a lot of successes in my life with business and other things and whatever. And to me, this is the most important aspect and thing I've ever created. And it feels really good to share it. Thank you so much for having, your attention and your time and your beautiful team and everything that you've been doing for 35 years. It's like so awesome. Like, I'm so grateful to share this message loud and proud.
Well, it's an amazing thing. I truly do think if people learned this question very young, they
Mhm.
would uh, they would make better decisions about the direction of their life. I could have perhaps understood that my father was just simply insane and that he may have needed something more, rather than reacting to the verbal abuse. I think
Mhm.
it could change everything. I'm going to make sure that my granddaughters, I have two granddaughters who have March birthdays, so I'm ordering cards today for them.
March birthdays are the best. All my best friends in my life are born in March. I'm an August baby, but all the people that are like my dearest girlfriends are all March. There's like 5 of them.
Oh, well, you'll never forget mine because it's March 4th, which is
Oh,
the only command in the year. We have to March 4th.
that's amazing.
But it's just, I just would so love to get your cards in the hands of young people. It's like it could be a turning point for the situation the world is in right now, and they're just so beautifully done, and I love holding them. So it's truly a joy to have you here and have you sharing this. One last question. I think you talk about, no, 2 last questions. The integrity card, you say integrity is being aligned with your highest self. That is not exactly a definition that I've heard before, but it's just talk about that a little bit.
Well, our highest self is when our actions are aligned with our hearts. So that is like the true integrity is we all want to be our best versions of ourselves. And how do we do that? Well, we do it with our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. And there's actually no action that is too small to count. And the most powerful of our actions is what we think, because what we think accompanies every single action of body and speech. Like I'm gonna pick up this glass of water. So I think it, like, oh, water, pick it up, right? I thought it first and then I did it. So thought is very powerful. And that's why, like, one of the practices for me that's super simple is like a thought shower, right? Like be integrity with what I want to move my life towards and make those actions be in alignment together. So it's like I have an army of telomeres just moving forward in the direction I want to go, instead of, being in lack of integrity and moving away from something I don't want. Like I want to get away from the abuser. I want to get away from financial despair. I want to get away from whatever it is. It's like, what do you want to move towards? And that's where it's like, when we actually practice being the best version of ourselves, we are in integrity with our soul's purpose here, spiritually, our contracts that we make. Like it gets really deep, and you can use the language in your own belief and faith system that works for you about that. It's like, what does integrity for you? What does your highest self want for you? You are the wisest person that knows you. No one knows you better than you, right? So this is what I mean by the integrity piece. And it's all available. Happiness is available to all of us all of the time. We just have to remember to practice it.
Isn't that the truth? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to save my last question for the very end. So it's time now that you're going to show us how to do a card pull, and you're going to, you tell us how we're going to choose a card through you today.
Okay, so this is how it's fun. So I'm going to give you 3 numbers, and you're going to pick one number and put it in the chat if you want to, because it helps you hold accountability. So are you going to do card 1, card 2, or card 3? What is going to be the main message for you? And then I'm going to do a reading for each of these cards in the next couple of minutes, just a quick reading for you to choose. What is it that love would do for you right now? Pick 1, 2, or 3. Okay. So I do an arc and then I pick the cards. So the first card is, does everybody have them? Okay, good. I see 3, 3. I love, everybody loves, Drew loves 3. I love it, Joe. Kay loves 2. What do we got? Karen. Hi, Karen. 1, 2. Okay, Brooke, 3. Patricia, 3. Okay, good. So you guys are picking your cards. I want you to put them in there. So card 1. This is the main message. All the cards will have messages for you, and they will be the supporting characters in the play, so to speak. So the first one is, I'm going to hold it up for you, gratitude. Gratitude. This is one of my favorite heart cards. So a grateful heart. Oh, thanks. A grateful heart allows us to see the gifts of imperfections. Imperfections, the things that we don't like, are actually the doorway to exactly what we need. So they're happening for us, right? So these imperfections, we need to figure out how we can form gratitude for them. So this is your message. This is the thing for what would love do for you, is to be grateful, be gratitude, figuring out how we can do that. Gratitude seems to be so powerful these days. Lots of gratitude journals and things like that, which is an incredible practice. Okay, card 2 is assertiveness. I love this card because we don't always think of heart work, love work as assertiveness. So assertiveness is speaking honestly about your thoughts, feelings, and desires while still considering others, right? Assertiveness is you have a right to ask for what it is that your highest self wants, and you can consider others at the same time. So maybe you need to assert yourself by requesting what you wish for. Maybe this is what this card means, right? And in this card, we might want to pick one thing that we're going to do. Each of these cards, one thing, and I'll give some examples for all three at the end. So the third card is clarity. Oh, clarity. I love clarity. Clarity comes from being in harmony with your truth and your authentic self. So maybe this is your message. You know, happiness loves clarity, right? All of it. So what we want to do is we want to, so one of the things that you can do is pick a practice that you're going to do, with your thoughts, words, or deeds. So one of the ideas is literally to be like, instead of saying what would love do, we can say, what would gratitude do? What would assertiveness do? Or what would clarity do with this problem that I'm having right now? With this concern, with this situation? If I was to lead with, loving clarity or loving assertiveness or loving gratitude, what would happen? And we can ponder this idea. Or maybe it's just to be like, I'm going to look for evidence in my own life for these things like gratitude, assertiveness, or clarity, right? These are practices where we can think, or maybe we're going to say things like we're going to assert ourselves and say, I hear you, and this is what I wish for. And then you say it plain, or you say it clearly, or you say it with gratitude. Okay. So, and maybe with our deeds, we can literally do something for someone else or do something for ourselves. Like I'm going to, sweep, take a shower, a gratitude shower, right? Or something like this, a clarity shower, right? So many amazing things happens in the shower for me. I also brush my teeth. Like with my words, I'm going to literally brush my teeth in the morning and I spit all my negativity down the bowl. And then anything that comes out of my mouth after I cleansed and purified my mouth is only going to be gratitude or clarity or loving words. So these are little momentary practices that can shift and change everything. So I'd love to see, is this resonating for you? Did you have an aha, or hopefully that was helpful for you? Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Yeah, it's love is a powerful force. And it's clear when people are doing something they love. Like Diana, it's clear that you love this group and you spend your energy doing it, and it's felt. I mean, it's palpable, right? You and your team and everybody in it, and the commitment. It's like we need more people in the world doing things that they love.
Yeah, just the joy of learning new things and finding new practices and doing life enhancing behaviors instead of getting, falling into playing a game all day on your computer or something, I have to snap myself out of it sometimes too. Oh, here, good. This is beautiful graphic. Thank you, Amy. She put up
Yeah,
the
thanks, Amy.
cards there all together. There
Mhm.
are 64 cards, and
Yes.
the artwork and the thought behind them. And when you open the book, I mean, there's like 2 or 3 pages on each card that give you
Mhm.
practices to do and ways to that you might experience, have an experience of the cards in a deeper way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is the book, and the deck is available on. You can go to starladin.com, and I have a Shopify store. Eventually, I will offer them on Amazon, but right now it's Shopify, and I also have an Etsy store if you prefer to buy it. But you have to have a membership to Etsy. So Shopify is just do it. It's Valentine's Day. They're making great gifts, and you can go to starladin.com and everything is there. I also have a free Facebook group where I do. The energy in this group is really amazing, and if you are into Facebook groups or on Facebook and you want to join in, you just answer a couple questions like what's your email and who invited you. And you're welcome to be a part of that group too. There's really some amazing people from all over the world. And that's free to anyone. And I do card readings and different trainings and teachings in there periodically. And I have a course coming up in March. So it's called S.T.A.R.S What Would Love Do course. And that's launching on the 6th. I'm teaching this again. So there's lots of different ways. I'm on Instagram. If you like Instagram, I love visual. I mean, having been a brand strategist for 25 years and retired from that work 2 years ago, I love beautiful things. So here's my website if you can see. So there's just, it's a little bit to get to know me more. But there's many ways, and I'd love to keep the relationship going if it resonates for you. And that's it, really. Like, they make great gifts, teachers' gifts. Anyone you love,
They
they
do
they
make great
they
gifts.
really do. And I created this deck for myself to practice because I wanted to hold myself accountable. So I'm right there with everybody else trying to spread a little more love. It's like I use my card deck every day. So. But thank you so much for having me, Diana, and everyone, your participation. It's so great to meet new people, especially people that are doing the work and transforming. And I couldn't be more grateful.
We're going to have our announcements. We have some wonderful things coming up. I'm going to tell you about our next speaker. It's a speaker on something we have never, ever addressed before. And this is a woman named Sarah Khan. I think we have a graphic, do we, that we can show here of this peace mongering is what she's going to be talking about. We have our speakers on the second Wednesday of every month. And so Sarah Khan has a fabulous TED Talk. You can look her up. She's an award-winning Toastmasters speaker. And she believes peace mongering is a battle worth waging in a world polarized by conflicting views. Her message is of empathy and understanding is perfectly timed for these divisive times. And she, of course, you can see that she's Muslim, and this is the first time we've ever really had anybody talk about what it's like to be Muslim in America. And I think she escaped slaughter in Bombay, India, and studied in a Catholic convent. And we have a lot of other exciting things coming up that Robin's going to tell us about.
Thank you, Diana. I'm really excited that we're kicking off. This is our very first speaker event of the year for this new membership cycle. And we're doing it a little different this year. We're having one speaker a month, and then instead of a second speaker in the month, we're going to have a community forum. And that's going to be our place we go deeper with the theme of the month. So we're going to take this theme that we got started with S.T.A.R. today, and we are going to have a community, more of a in-depth community discussion about what are we doing, how are we moving forward with either these clarity, gratitude words that we are using, or how can we support each other in being our best loving selves in the world. So that's our theme. We're going to do some discussion groups. We're going to do a little more breakout session work there. We're also going to do some of our old favorite activities that we didn't really have time for when we would just be focusing on speakers all last year. So we're going to do our birthdays, where we hear the visions for the birthdays. We're going to have our spotlight new members, so we get to know each other better. We're going to have wins and acknowledgements. So it'll be fun, playful, lively, really about building our community connections. The other things we have coming up that is different this year, we're reactivating our sub-edge groups, that the most popular fun things. And these are our interest groups, our special, more intimate groups of people that get together around things they have in common and they enjoy. And so I'm going to have a few of those coming up. Tomorrow is we had our first one last week. We had our Writer's Edge, which will be the first Wednesday of every month at 9:30 in the morning. And then the next one coming up is tomorrow. It's called the Healing Edge, and it's hosted by our member, Lisa Brown McCulloch. And it's a Power of 8 group, if you're familiar with Lynn Taggart's work. So Lisa is a wonderful healer in her own right, and she's hosting this. She's hosted others before. Now she's doing one particularly for our Inside Edge group. So it's a sub-edge, the Healing Edge. And it will meet every Thursday, every second Thursday, and it's an evening thing. So it's at 7 p.m. in the evening. So the next week on Wednesday morning, we have our first Act 3 Edge. Our Act 3 Edge is really about how to live life really amazingly in your third chapter, which, is sort of 60 and beyond, but you can be less than 60 if you want to join us. And that's going to be led by Karin Crilly, who is our own role model in that way. She's an amazing member of ours that's written a book about the blue satin nightgown, about a way she reinvented herself in her 70s. And she's continuing with the second book, and she hosted in a group like this prior and a couple years ago, and everyone loved it. So we're really thrilled that's coming back. So that's next Wednesday morning at 9:30, and every third Wednesday of the month. And then let's see, we have one more called the Outside Edge. And that one is going to be Jane Drew and I are going to take field trips with people in different locations around Orange County. We're going to hit really beautiful natural locations. And the first one we're going to do is going to be Saturday, February 20th. We're going to meet at Dana Point Harbor. It'll be an hour of walking at any pace you'd like, and then an hour of hanging out and socially distanced in the park, socializing and enjoying each other. Bring a picnic if you'd like. Yeah. So those are some of the things coming up. You can find all of this information on our brand new website, insideedge.org. And you can sign up directly there. You can click the links to go and sign up.
So S.T.A.R., it's time for me to thank you. I just think you've done a beautiful job of presenting the idea, and it's led to some real connection and ahas and all of that. Do you have any last words that you'd like to leave with us?
Just, I love you. And I love, I love it. I love love. So let's keep, spreading the love, like be a love spreader. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
You are so wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, S.T.A.R.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.